Welcome to the channel Peaceful Mind in Life. Imagine one day, you wake up and feel completely lost. Work has drained you, relationships are becoming dull. And the societal expectations weigh heavily on your shoulders. You ask yourself, am I really living or just merely existing? We spend so much time chasing fame, money, status, and the recognition of others, but we forget one important thing. How do we truly live a meaningful life? Have you ever felt stuck in pointless worries and stress? Have you ever felt angry or disappointed by things beyond your control? Have you ever felt empty even after achieving things you once longed for? If your answer is yes, then perhaps you are living the way the world imposes on you, rather than taking control of your own life. So, what is the key to living a meaningful life? To remain calm amidst chaos, resilient in adversity, and strong in the face of challenges. More than 2,000 years ago, a group of great minds dedicated their lives to finding the answer to this question. They were the followers of Stoicism, a philosophy of life that helps people control their emotions, overcome hardships, and focus on what truly matters. Today, I will share with you the core lessons of Stoicism and how to apply them to modern life. Because, no matter if you're facing failure, loss, or betrayal, you still have the power to choose how to respond to it. Let's explore the secrets that will help you become a strong person, not swept away by the chaotic current of the world. Stoicism is not just a philosophy, but a profound way of life, a method that helps us overcome adversity and find inner peace. It is a philosophy that not only focuses on theory but also on everyday practice, helping us control emotions, master ourselves, and live a meaningful life in a chaotic world. Stoicism, a life philosophy originating from ancient Greece, aims to help people overcome the difficulties of life by focusing on what they can control and letting go of what they cannot. This philosophy teaches us that, instead of reacting emotionally to events beyond our control, we should cultivate calmness and wisdom to face and act correctly. The Stoic philosophy was founded by Zeno of Citium in the 3rd century BC, a figure who was not only known for his intellect but also for a life full of turmoil. Zeno started as a wealthy merchant, but he encountered a terrible tragedy, a shipwreck that cost him all his fortune. Rather than mourning, becoming angry, or blaming fate, Zeno found a new path for his life. He did not complain about the losses but instead turned to philosophy and began studying the philosophical schools of his time. One day, when Zeno came across a book by Socrates, he felt the power of the philosophy of living in the face of hardship. This was the moment when Zeno decided to found the Stoic philosophy, with the goal of helping people face suffering and injustice without being defeated. He taught that, we cannot change what has happened, but we can change our reaction to it. Zeno began teaching his philosophy at a public place in Athens, where he attracted a large number of students. It was here that he developed and spread the philosophy that later became one of the most famous schools of thought in history. From Zeno, Stoicism became not only a philosophy but also a way of life that helped people become stronger in the face of adversity. One of the famous students of Stoicism was Epictetus, a slave oppressed in Roman society. The hardships and suffering he endured did not break him, but instead, they helped him forge a resilient spirit and superior intellect. Epictetus turned his pain into motivation to learn, grow, and share valuable lessons on how to live strongly, unbound by circumstances. Epictetus taught that our lives are defined not by the events themselves, but by how we respond to them. He said, we cannot change what has happened, but we can change how we respond to it. The great lesson from Epictetus is this: suffering is unavoidable in life, but it cannot take away our dignity and spiritual strength if we learn to control our reactions. If Epictetus was the one who developed Stoicism from the perspective of a slave, Marcus Aurelius is the epitome of a great leader with a resilient heart, a mighty Roman emperor. Known for his work Meditations, Marcus Aurelius is one of the most profound practitioners of Stoic philosophy in history. Despite being a powerful emperor with many great victories, Marcus Aurelius constantly faced sorrow and loneliness. He even had to confront the death of his children, sickness, war, and rebellions. However, during those moments of suffering, Marcus found calm and strength from Stoic philosophy. One of his famous sayings is, "Do what is right, don't let anyone push you off your path." The story of Marcus Aurelius teaches us that even living in a challenging society, we can still find inner peace if we live true to our nature, not being swept away by the confusion or greed of society. Meditations, his personal journal, is a testament to Marcus Aurelius' profound ability for reflection. In it, he wrote, "Live as if you were preparing for death, but do not fear it. It is inevitable. What matters is living well every day." Marcus Aurelius' philosophy encourages us to view every hardship as an opportunity to grow and cultivate virtue. He believed that it is through challenges that we truly understand ourselves and develop inner strength. Today, even though thousands of years have passed since Stoicism was founded, its lessons remain incredibly relevant and valuable in modern life. The world today is not short of challenges, from financial crises to personal issues, from work pressures to social upheavals. So how can we live according to Stoic philosophy? Differentiate between what we can and cannot control. We cannot control everything in life, but we can control how we respond to them. Just like a rainstorm cannot be stopped, but we can choose how to face it. When facing failure, instead of drowning in anger or despair, we can choose to view it as an opportunity to learn. Practice self-control and emotional regulation. The world is full of stressors, but we can learn not to let these factors affect our emotions. A Stoic person never allows themselves to become a slave to their emotions. We may feel sadness, but we do not allow it to dominate our lives. Accept and face difficulties with courage. Stoicism does not encourage running away from challenges but urges us to confront them directly. When faced with adversity, instead of fear, we need to find ways to face and overcome them. These difficulties are not punishments but opportunities for growth. Stoicism helps us find peace amidst the turmoil and hardships of life. As the Stoic masters taught, life will always have challenges, but what matters is how we choose to respond to them. So, if you want to become a strong, resilient person and live a meaningful life, start practicing the principles of Stoicism today. For core virtues of Stoicism. Stoicism is a philosophy of life built on 4 core virtues, serving as the foundation for people to overcome all challenges in life, live with self-control, and achieve inner peace. These are timeless values, regardless of time or circumstances, always helping us maintain our dignity and grow stronger in a world full of chaos and difficulties. These 4 virtues are not just theories but principles that Stoic masters like Socrates, Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius practiced and cultivated throughout their lives. Each virtue is a powerful tool to help us achieve a life of self-control and meaning, despite the difficulties we face. Wisdom in Stoicism is not just a general understanding of the world or complex issues, but the ability to clearly differentiate between what we can control and what we cannot control. This is one of the most important factors in achieving inner peace, because often people worry and suffer over things beyond their control. One of the most famous stories related to this virtue is the story of Epictetus, a famous slave and one of the greatest philosophers of Stoicism. Epictetus lived a life full of challenges, imprisoned and enduring much suffering. But instead of surrendering to fate, he drew an important lesson about wisdom. We cannot change what has happened, but we can change how we react to it. One particular story about Epictetus is when he was beaten by his master. Instead of getting angry or sad, Epictetus just smiled and said, "Pain is a part of life, but that pain will not control me." This illustrates the resilience and powerful emotional control that Stoicism encourages. Epictetus always taught that people should not spend time worrying about what cannot be controlled, but instead, they need to focus on what they can change, which is their own reactions and attitudes. This story reflects the wisdom principle of Stoicism. When we clearly recognize that not everything in life is within our control, the most important thing is that we can control ourselves, and this is the key to living a peaceful life. Not being swept away by things beyond our control. Courage, according to Stoicism, is not only the bravery to face clear dangers but the ability to face all challenges in life with resilience. Without fear, and without giving up. Courage does not mean not feeling fear, but acting despite fear. It is the determination to do what is right, despite difficulties or opposition from outside forces. One of the most notable stories of courage in Stoic philosophy is about Socrates, who lived a life steadfast to his moral principles, despite opposition from the government and society. In one of the most famous trials in the history of philosophy, Socrates was sentenced to death for corrupting the youth and causing social disorder. Instead of running away or fearing, Socrates faced death with resilience, one of his famous sayings being, "I do not fear death. I fear injustice and living contrary to what I believe." Socrates demonstrated remarkable courage when he not only faced death but also asserted that living a righteous life, according to conscience and knowledge, was more important than anything else. It is this steadfastness that left a profound mark on the history of philosophy, teaching us that courage is not the absence of fear, but the continuation of action despite fear. Always holding firm to moral principles in all situations. Temperance is the virtue that Stoicism particularly emphasizes in helping individuals live a life of self-control and inner peace. It is not just about controlling material desires, but the ability to control all emotions, not allowing them to lead us astray from our life's goal. A temperate person is one who does not let temptation, distraction, or negative emotions dominate them. Philosopher Seneca had strong views on controlling emotions and seeking balance in life. One famous story is when Seneca was asked how to maintain calm in the face of adversity. He answered, "Life is not about what you have, but about what you don't need." Seneca's point here is that people often seek joy from things beyond their control, but true peace is found when we learn to live simply, reduce greed, and manage our emotions well. Seneca also taught that when you do not allow emotions to control you, you will be able to master your life and face all challenges without being harmed. When you can maintain calm in all situations, you have achieved one of the most important aspects of Stoicism, temperance. Justice is the virtue that Stoicism regards as one of the cornerstones of moral life. Justice is not only doing what is right when someone is watching, but acting rightly even when no one is looking, without encouragement or reward. A typical story of justice in philosophy is the story of Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor famous for his Stoic thoughts. Throughout his life, Marcus adhered to the moral principles of Stoicism, even while living in a society full of power and ambition. He always believed that justice was the foundation of all actions, and that right actions must be carried out even when no one witnesses them. In his work Meditations, Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not let the actions of others deviate you from your own path. Always do what is right, no matter what others think." These words from Marcus Aurelius remind us of the importance of justice in doing what is right, not for recognition or reward, but because it is right and in accordance with our conscience. Stoicism, with its 4 core virtues, is not only a philosophy of life but a method for achieving self-control, wisdom, and true happiness. Wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice are principles practiced and passed down by Stoic philosophers like Socrates, Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius. These lessons are not only valuable in the past but also extremely important in modern life, helping us face today's challenges with resilience and wisdom. The Stoic philosophy is not just a method to help people live peacefully in a turbulent world, but also a powerful tool to turn adversity, suffering, and challenges into opportunities for training and growth. As Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, once said, "The obstacle is the way." This statement profoundly reflects the Stoic idea: challenges are not things we should avoid, but opportunities to develop ourselves, to express and cultivate the core virtues of Stoicism. The most touching and powerful story of applying Stoic philosophy in adversity is the story of Viktor Frankl, a famous Austrian psychologist who survived the Nazi concentration camps during World War II. Frankl was not only a psychologist but also a man who deeply understood suffering and death. As he spent a long time living in the harsh conditions of the Auschwitz concentration camp. During that time, Frankl witnessed brutality, death, and endless loss. Everything he knew and loved was taken from him, from family and friends to the most basic living conditions. But instead of allowing that environment to destroy his mind and will to survive, Frankl applied Stoic philosophy to his daily life. He did not let external events control how he thought and felt about life. In his famous book Man's Search for Meaning, Frankl shared that although he could not control the external circumstances, the cruelty of the German soldiers, the deaths of those around him, or his separation from family, he could control how he reacted to those things. He wrote, "They can take everything from me, but they cannot take away how I respond to my circumstances." This is a perfect application of the Stoic principle that while we cannot control circumstances, we can control how we respond to them. Frankl found meaning in every suffering, a reason to live, and a purpose to continue fighting. This not only helped him survive but also made him one of the most influential figures in the fields of psychology and philosophy. Frankl explained that while people cannot avoid painful and difficult circumstances, they always have the ability to choose how to perceive and respond to those circumstances. This ability helped him endure hardship and find inner strength, thus developing a philosophy of life meaning that later became the foundation of logotherapy, a psychological therapy method he founded. Therefore, the lesson we can learn from Viktor Frankl's story is, adversity is an opportunity for us to train and grow. We cannot change what has happened, but how we respond to it. How we choose to face difficulty and suffering will determine our growth and maturity. Marcus Aurelius lived a life full of hardship and challenges. As the Roman emperor, he faced endless wars, invasions from tribes outside the empire, and rebellions within his court. Yet, what is special about Marcus is how he faced these challenges, not with fear or anger, but with calmness, wisdom, and an unyielding spirit of self-discipline. In Meditations, his personal work, Marcus Aurelius wrote about the difficulties he faced in life and how he applied Stoic philosophy to overcome them. One of the important lessons he shared was how to face the obstacles in life. What is in our way is what we must overcome. He understood that challenges and difficulties in life are not things to avoid, but opportunities to express and cultivate virtues like patience, courage, and emotional control. One famous story that Marcus Aurelius shares in Meditations is about his confrontation with an old friend who had betrayed him during a rebellion. Instead of feeling angry or hateful toward that friend, he reminded himself that everyone has flaws and mistakes, and he should not let negative emotions control him. Instead, he sought to forgive and continue his life along the path of dignity, resilience, and justice. Through this story, we see that Marcus Aurelius always saw adversity as an opportunity to practice Stoic virtues. Difficult situations in life are tests for our wisdom and character. When we face challenges, we can choose to respond with calmness, rather than being swept away by emotions, and thereby train ourselves to become stronger, more complete individuals. Seneca lived a life full of turbulence and challenges. Although he was a prominent politician and influential thinker, he faced many difficulties, from political uprisings to social boycotts. However, what is remarkable about Seneca is how he always used reason and Stoic philosophy to help him overcome all the trials and hardships in life. One famous story about Seneca is when he was ordered by Emperor Nero, whom he had once advised, to face trial and commit suicide. Instead of resisting or panicking, Seneca calmly faced death and used Stoic philosophy to prepare for his final journey. He did not let external events control his mind. In his final hours, he calmly confronted death without regret or sorrow, and used that calmness to reflect on his life. Seneca wrote extensively about accepting death as an inevitable part of life. And he applied this to help himself overcome all adversities and sufferings. In one of his letters to Lucilius, he wrote, "We cannot control death, but we can control how we prepare for it." This is one of Seneca's most important views, and it reflects one of the key lessons of Stoic philosophy. It is not circumstances or external events that determine our lives, but how we prepare for and respond to them. In Stoic philosophy, adversity is not something to be avoided, but an opportunity for self-discipline, to prove our calmness, wisdom, and virtues. The challenges we face in life, although they may cause us pain, can become valuable lessons if we know how to face them. Viktor Frankl, Marcus Aurelius, and Seneca are shining examples of how to turn adversity into an opportunity for personal development, and they have passed down an important message to us: we can control how we react to situations. And that is the key to overcoming any challenges in life. In today's society, recognition from others seems to have become an essential part of everyone's life. We often seek affirmation from friends, colleagues, and even from social media. Each photo posted on social media, each status update, or each share carries an expectation of attention, compliments, or simply a like or share. These signals seem to become a measure of our self-worth, making us feel more meaningful when we receive recognition from others. Stoic philosophy offers a completely different perspective. Seneca, one of the prominent philosophers of Stoicism, once said, "You do not need recognition from anyone. Doing the right thing is reward enough." This quote not only reflects Seneca's view but also encapsulates a core principle of Stoicism: recognition from others is something beyond your control. What matters is that you do the right thing, whether or not others notice. Philosopher Epictetus always emphasized maintaining inner self-control, not letting our minds be disturbed by what others think of us. In his book Discourses, he told stories of situations where he and others faced discomfort and criticism from others. However, instead of accepting the pain from lack of recognition, Epictetus advised that each individual should focus on doing the right thing and living according to their moral principles, rather than chasing after societal approval. Epictetus reminds us that external recognition is fleeting and cannot define our self-worth. What matters is what you do in life, the actions that come from integrity and virtue. And these are the things that truly matter. Only when you understand this will you stop seeking affirmation from the outside world. Doing what is right is the reward, and that reward is all you need. Seneca, a famous Stoic philosopher and Roman politician, despite his significant influence, always advised that living according to ethics and doing the right thing should not be for the expectation of recognition from others, but simply because it is the right thing to do. He wrote, "You do not need recognition from anyone. Doing the right thing is reward enough." In one of his famous letters to Lucilius, Seneca shared his views on the need for recognition. We should do good for ourselves, for our self-respect, and for righteousness, not for praise or recognition from others. These words from Seneca advise us to live with ourselves first and to do what is right because it is a value we define for ourselves, not for the recognition from others. The story of Seneca is that while he was an advisor to Emperor Nero, he faced many difficult situations, including criticism from opposing forces in the court. Despite being criticized and treated unfairly, Seneca maintained his spirit and acted with dignity. He did not seek recognition or acknowledgement from anyone, but focused only on doing what was right and living according to the ethical principles he pursued. We can learn from Seneca that in modern life, even if we do not receive immediate recognition from others, living according to principles and practicing ethics is a wonderful reward in itself. And when you do this, you will no longer feel disappointed when you do not get a like or comment on social media, because you know that true value comes from what you have done, not from how others perceive you. Another story, not from the Stoic philosophers but one that contains a lesson about giving up the need for recognition, is the story of a famous Zen master in Buddhist tradition. This Zen master was once invited to a grand ceremony by an emperor. After the ceremony ended, the emperor tried to give the Zen master a large gift as a symbol of recognition. However, instead of accepting the gift, the Zen master humbly refused and said, "The greatest recognition I have is living in accordance with what I have learned and practiced." The Zen master's words not only showed humility but also reflected a profound philosophy of life. In life, we do not always receive recognition from those around us, and in reality, we cannot live just to seek praise or recognition from society. The right actions, sincere in every moment of life, are the true reward. If in Stoicism, we learn that recognition is not the ultimate goal, but living righteously is, then in Buddhism, this philosophy also shares some similarities. Buddha taught, do not seek recognition, but liberation from suffering. Both philosophies agree that we cannot control the outside world, but we can control our inner world and our responses. Living righteously and truthfully with ourselves is the greatest reward we can achieve. We live in a society where external recognition seems to be the deciding factor in assessing our self-worth. However, according to Stoic philosophy, we should not let this recognition dominate our lives and actions. What matters is living according to strong moral principles, acting rightly and kindly, whether anyone sees or praises us. The greatest reward is the sense of satisfaction and peace you get from doing what is right. This is the value that Stoic philosophers have found in their lives. And it is also the reward you can find in your own life. One of the most important principles of Stoic philosophy is the ability to control emotions. Epictetus, one of the prominent thinkers of Stoicism, said, "We are not harmed by events, but by our interpretation of them." This quote is not just a philosophical concept but a practical guide to help us control our emotions. In our daily lives, we will encounter many situations that may make us feel angry, sad, disappointed, or afraid. However, according to Stoicism, these emotions are not the direct result of external events, but are caused by how we perceive and react to those events. So how can we control our emotions, especially when facing difficult challenges in life? In this section, I will expand and explain the methods for controlling emotions according to Stoic philosophy, with the addition of stories and practical lessons from history and philosophy. Today, emotions are often seen as an external factor beyond our control. According to Stoic philosophy, emotions are not actually our enemy but a natural part of being human. We can learn not to be dominated by them, and instead, use them as an opportunity for self-discipline and spiritual growth. To illustrate this point, we can take an example from Seneca. Seneca believed that emotions are the result of our thoughts and judgments about events in life. He wrote in his Letters to Lucilius, "Emotions arise only when we judge an event to be harmful or beneficial to us. But in reality, we can choose how to perceive that event." A famous story from Seneca is when he was invited to meet Emperor Nero, a man known for his cruelty and volatile temperament. Seneca never allowed negative emotions to control him, even in the face of Nero's tyrannical actions. On one occasion, when Nero ordered some people to be executed, Seneca did not show fear or anger. He calmly reminded Nero of a ruler's responsibility to maintain justice. This emotional control helped Seneca navigate many dangerous situations without falling into anxiety or fear. One of the key lessons Epictetus taught his students was emotional self-control. He emphasized that emotions do not come from external events, but from our responses to those events. To control our emotions, we must be clear about what we can and cannot control. For example, if someone insults you, you can choose to get angry or simply let it go. In such a situation, according to Epictetus, we have the power to control our emotions. Emotions like anger, sadness, or discomfort are reactions that can change depending on how we evaluate and handle the situation. Epictetus suggests a very simple but highly effective exercise for controlling emotions. When you feel anger rising, pause for 5 seconds and ask yourself, what benefit does this anger bring? This question helps you temporarily control your thoughts and emotions and gives you the opportunity to reflect on the situation more clearly. Instead of reacting immediately with emotion, you will have time to think about what truly matters and whether anger will help you in that situation. This is one of the simplest methods Stoicism encourages us to use to create a distance between events and our reactions to them. When you learn to practice such self-control, you will gradually become more resilient in managing emotions and making wiser decisions. The core philosophy of Stoicism is transforming pain into an opportunity for self-discipline and personal growth. This does not mean denying emotions or pain, but recognizing that suffering can be a part of maturation. Through his experience surviving in Nazi concentration camps during World War II, where he witnessed millions of people enduring brutality and death, Viktor Frankl developed a psychological theory called logotherapy, in which he emphasized that even in the harshest conditions, people can still find meaning in their lives. This is similar to Stoic philosophy, in which difficulties and challenges are not obstacles but opportunities to develop oneself. One of his famous quotes is, "The obstacle is the way." This quote reflects the Stoic view that all the challenges and difficulties we encounter are not things that hinder us, but opportunities to practice resilience, calmness, and wisdom. When facing wars, plagues, and personal failures, Marcus Aurelius did not let negative emotions control him. Instead, he used these challenges as an opportunity to strengthen his virtues. In one famous story, Marcus Aurelius had to face a deadly plague and a prolonged war. However, instead of drowning in pain and despair, he used these situations as opportunities to develop his leadership skills and defend his values and virtues. His calm attitude and emotional control throughout these challenging years are a living testament to Stoic philosophy. Controlling emotions is not easy, but it is a skill that can be developed through practice and perseverance. Stoic philosophy helps us clearly understand what we can control and what we cannot. Instead of letting negative emotions like anger or fear dominate us, we can learn to respond with calmness, clarity, and wisdom. In doing so, we not only become stronger but also learn to live a life of meaning and wisdom. Emotional control is an important part of the self-development process. It helps us face challenges, overcome adversity, and live according to the values we pursue. Remember, as Epictetus said, we are not harmed by events, but by our interpretation of them. When you learn to change your perception of every event in life, you will be able to control your emotions and live a life full of meaning and happiness. Currently, we are living with busyness, concerns, and anxieties about work, family, and relationships. One of the things we often overlook is the fragility of life. Our life can end at any time, and this is not a terrifying prospect, but an unchangeable truth. Memento mori, a prominent concept in Stoic philosophy, serves as a reminder of the inevitability of death and the brevity of life. Memento mori can be translated as, remember that you will die, but it is not a warning to live in fear. Instead, it is a reminder for us to live more fully and meaningfully. Memento mori is not a pessimistic concept. It does not encourage us to live in fear of death, but instead, it encourages us to live completely. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself of life's brevity and the inevitability of death. In Meditations, he wrote, "Every day, remember that you may die. Remember that you cannot control what will happen, but you can control how you live and what you do with the time you have." This is a powerful reminder that life is not something that lasts forever, but a precious gift that we should cherish. Death is not a tragic end but a natural part of the life cycle. If we remember death each day, we will live more mindfully, avoiding letting meaningless things take up our time and energy. One of the most famous stories related to memento mori is the death of Socrates, the founder of Western philosophy. When facing the death penalty for corrupting the youth and not believing in the city's gods, Socrates showed no fear or anxiety. Even in his final moments before drinking the poison, he continued to teach his students. When you face death, it is not fear that will guide you, but acceptance and tranquility, which will help you live a more meaningful life. Socrates was never afraid of death. He always said that death was just a natural transformation and should not be seen as something terrifying. According to Socrates, when a person lives true to their values and wisdom, they do not need to fear death, because death is simply a part of life. This is how memento mori can change the way we view death, not as something to be avoided, but as something normal and to be accepted. The immortality of death is not what we need to fear, but rather how we live meaningfully before this journey ends. Seneca said, "Death is not what we fear, but living a life unfulfilled." According to Seneca, death is just a natural end to life. But what is frightening is that we may not live true to ourselves. If we keep chasing after fleeting ambitions, values that do not truly bring happiness and meaning, then death will be a great regret. We cannot change death, but we can change how we live. Alexander, one of the greatest figures in history, conquered nearly the entire world he could reach. However, when he passed away at just 32 years old, he left behind a vast empire but no clear plan for maintaining it after his death. This not only caused his empire to quickly disintegrate but also led people to question, did Alexander live a meaningful life? Alexander achieved many great feats in his life. But if he lived only to conquer and gain temporary glory, can we truly call that a worthy life? This is the question that Stoicism asks each of us to reflect on. A meaningful life is not defined by how much glory or wealth we achieve, but by how we live and how we choose to do the right thing. Memento mori is not only a reminder of death, but a method for living more mindfully in every moment. Each time we remember death, we are also reminding ourselves of the preciousness of time and the importance of living in the present. A very simple exercise that Stoic philosophers regularly practiced is reflecting on death every day. Each morning upon waking, ask yourself, if today were my last day, what would I do differently? This question helps us gain deeper insight into the value of the present moments, rather than dwelling on worries about the future or regrets about the past. We focus on what is most important right now. Michelangelo, one of the greatest artists of the medieval period, lived a life full of achievements and outstanding works of art. But when standing before his creations, he always felt that he had never completed a perfect painting or sculpture. He admitted that he always felt death was near, and because of that, each of his works carried the sense that it needed to be completed immediately. This drove him to work tirelessly, never stopping his creativity until there was no more time. Stoicism encourages us not to view death merely as an end, but as an opportunity to seek meaning. When we realize that everything could end suddenly, we no longer let worries, dissatisfaction, or insignificant things take over our lives. According to Epictetus, if you live with the awareness of death, you will treasure every moment and use each day to cultivate yourself. Death is certain, but how you live before you die is something you can control. A famous story related to finding meaning in death is that of Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple. Jobs once said in his commencement speech at Stanford University, "Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You are already naked. There is no reason not to follow your heart and intuition." Jobs lived a life full of passion and creativity, unafraid of failure or risks. Because he was always aware that life is short and death is inevitable. Death is not just an end, but an opportunity to live fully and not miss any important moments. The philosophy of memento mori is not meant to invoke fear, but to motivate us to live more purposefully and meaningfully. When we become aware of the immortality of death, we will no longer waste time on trivial things, focusing instead on what truly matters. It is death that makes life more valuable and meaningful than ever before. Every day, every moment, can be an opportunity for us to display courage, wisdom, and character. Live as if today were your last day, and you will realize that every moment is worthwhile. The philosophy of Stoicism, or Stoic philosophy, is not just an ancient system of thought but also a highly useful and practical way of living in the modern world. Despite being over 2,000 years old, Stoic principles such as emotional control, maintaining calm in all circumstances, and developing wisdom are still highly relevant to the challenges we face today. One of the core principles of Stoicism is emotional control. Epictetus, one of the prominent philosophers of this school, once said, "We are not harmed by events, but by our interpretation of them." This emphasizes that our emotions are not a direct response to external events, but a result of how we process and perceive those events. In modern life, when faced with situations like being criticized by a colleague, experiencing injustice at work, or simply having disagreements with loved ones, maintaining calm and controlling our emotions becomes more important than ever. According to Stoicism, we cannot change the things outside of our control, but we can fully control how we react to them. A famous example of emotional control in history is the story of Nelson Mandela. During his 27 years of imprisonment, Mandela learned not to let negative emotions like anger or hatred control him. Instead, he used his time in prison to find peaceful solutions for his country, despite the harsh conditions. Mandela practiced Stoicism by maintaining calm, seeking inner peace, and persevering in the struggle for freedom without letting personal emotions get in the way. Another important principle of Stoicism is maintaining calm and resilience in the face of external circumstances. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who was also a famous Stoic philosopher, wrote in Meditations that, "What does not kill you makes you stronger." In every circumstance, whether challenge or hardship, Stoics believe that we can choose to respond calmly and wisely. So how can we apply this principle in modern life? In a world as volatile as today, with stresses in work, family tensions, or even global crises, maintaining calm is a huge challenge. However, the important thing is to realize that we cannot change what happens outside of us, but we can control how we react. The story of Steve Jobs is a clear example of not letting external circumstances control oneself. Jobs was famous for his determination to pursue his passion and vision, despite major failures in his career. After being fired from Apple in the 1980s, Jobs did not let this failure deter him. Instead, he founded Next and Pixar, leading to tremendous success when he returned to Apple. Jobs demonstrated the ability to master his emotions and remain calm to maintain his vision, despite challenges, failures, or external pressures. One of the biggest challenges we face is constant change. Financial markets fluctuate, societies change relentlessly, and we face difficult decisions every day. In such moments, living calmly and steadfastly like a Stoic is crucial. Seneca once wrote, "It is not that life is too short, but that we waste too much time." This is an important reminder that we should not let worries about the future or regrets about the past affect our present life. Rather than worrying about things we cannot control, Stoics encourage us to focus on what we can do now to live fully. In today's world, business leaders are facing economic crises. In crisis situations, when everything could collapse in an instant, true Stoic leaders do not panic or try to escape. Instead, they maintain their spirits, confront the issue calmly, and have a clear plan to overcome it. Howard Schultz, former CEO of Starbucks, is a prime example. When Starbucks faced a decline in revenue and fierce competition, Schultz did not hastily make emotional decisions. Instead, he used his intellect, calmly analyzed the situation, and ultimately led Starbucks back to success. Living by Stoic principles in the modern world does not mean giving up all material things or making everything harsh. In fact, it is about focusing on the true nature of life and seeking inner peace, regardless of external circumstances. Here are some ways you can apply Stoicism in your daily life. Practice mindfulness. Take time every day to reflect on the events in your life, become aware of your emotions, and learn to control them instead of letting them control you. This helps you maintain calmness and avoid making rash decisions in stressful moments. Focus on what you can control. As Epictetus taught, we cannot control all events, but we can control how we react to them. Do not let factors outside of your control cause you suffering. Focus on what you can change and improve. Accept change, in both personal life and work. Everything changes. This can create fear and anxiety, but Stoics learn to accept change as a natural part of life. As Heraclitus said, nothing endures except change. So, are you ready to apply Stoicism in your life? Remember that Stoicism is not about abandoning emotions or passively accepting suffering. It is about controlling emotions, maintaining calmness, and living meaningfully every day, regardless of the difficulties and challenges you face. Please share your thoughts on Stoicism and how you will apply it in modern life.